This is the Independence Blue Cross
Monday
Night Kickoff Show, a weekly broadcast that breaks down each Eagles game better than anyone else. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show is broadcasting live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken and is heard on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM and is brought to you by SEPTA, Fogo de Chão, the Great American Pub, Independence Blue Cross, and Grand Café L'Aquila. We now go live to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, everybody. Welcome to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff, Tuesday night edition. Obviously, due to the Eagles' Monday night game last night, we're here at the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken, where we are every week during the season. We're thrilled to be here, right here on WBCB 1490 and 107.3 FM. Also catch us on YouTube. And we have Paul Domowitch, as always. My co-host will introduce our guest in a second. Domo, nice win last night. There are 3-3-0 teams in the NFL, and your Kelly Green jacket is one of them, huh?
The good thing is they're 3-0. The better thing is that they still got a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, they're not at their ceiling. I mean, if they were at their ceiling, you'd say, well, can we get much better with the schedule? It gets tougher, blah, blah, blah. But not a Picasso masterpiece last night, but 3-0 is 3-0, and it is what it is. And we're here to talk about it tonight, obviously with you and myself and our guest who played for the Eagles, a couple other teams over a long NFL career. He has stayed here in Philadelphia, much more specifically Cherry Hill, to work for Fox in the NFL. And man about town, Eagle man about town. We love having him here. He used to work with him with WIP. Mr. Garry G. Cobb, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Good to be here, and go Birds.
Go Birds.
They got it done.
And I think the interesting thing about this, I mean, there's many interesting things about this, but 3-0, you obviously haven't played your A game yet. You won a game by 2 touchdowns on the road in the NFL on a Monday night in the team's home opener. And I think, and I love this about our fans, I love it about fans everywhere, but we love to nitpick. What happened with that throw? What happened with the blocking scheme? Is Brian Johnson calling a good game? Is Sean Desai calling a good game? This play, that play. You can't expect perfection, G, in any kind of game you play. It's never going to happen. Eagles played a very good game last night. They made some mistakes, which leads to plenty of questioning on talk radio. But all in all, 3-0 is 3-0, and they're looking great. Schedule not that difficult coming up with the Commanders Sunday. I am thrilled about where things are. Is everything perfect? No, but what are you feeling right now?
Well, I think you got to be happy. I mean, you know, because winning is ultimately what it's about. They do know that they need to play better later on to get to some of the goals they want to get to, but it's still just 3 games. So they find ways to win, and the big thing is they've got certain qualities that are going to help them the rest of the way, which is if you're winning the battle up front, a lot of times you're going to win the game. And right now, they are winning the battle up front on both sides of the ball. And really the thing is, you got to be really excited about what you see defensively, because they did some things last night defensively which are very impressive. So they got to feel, I would feel good if I were them right now.
Paul, Gary's not going to say anything in his life more accurate than the Eagles won the battle on the line on both sides of the ball. I mean, obviously with Swift in the running game, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in the defense, Vita Vea, the Buccaneers, great nose tackle, 0 tackles on the game. They rush for 200 yards. They can beat you in any kind of number of ways. If you're a defensive coordinator, pick your poison. You want to take away the run? We'll throw the ball with Jalen Hurts, who's obviously going to get better. The other way as well, the line is if you believe in the accordion theory of football, Domo, that the game is played from the lines out, the Eagles are maestros right now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that there are actually some teams in this league that it doesn't dawn on them that you build from, you know, if you have good offensive and defensive line, everything else will eventually fall into place. You know, they've made, it's funny, you go back over the last 15, 20 years, I mean, Howie and before him, Andy, I mean, they made their share of offensive and defensive line mistakes. I mean, we remember Danny Darwin. Danny Watkins. I mean,
Danny Darwin was a pitcher.
A lefty, too.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of guys, but I mean, lately, I mean, they just have been throwing strikes. I mean, they got, I mean, I think going back to the 80s, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis look like the second coming of Reggie and Jerome here.
They really do. I mean, the thing is, it's just so fun to me, and I kind of thought was going to happen was by them bringing Jalen Carter in here, it lit a fire under Jordan Davis.
Absolutely.
Because, last year, kid, I mean, he looked, he was big and everything, but you're just saying, look at it, the kid has no stamina at all. I mean, plays one play, he's looking to the sideline. So this year, kid went to work, and he comes in great shape, and you're seeing where you're just hitting, just him starting. You see where this kid can rush the passer too.
Yeah. That's a great point, T. And then you say, well, Jalen Carter has pushed Jordan Davis. Well, now you have Fletcher Cox, the veteran of the bunch. They're all pushing from him, and you got Brandon Graham on the edge, and Jason Kelsey in the interior of the line, and Lane Johnson. And this team has a beautiful mix, guys, of veteran and youth. The veterans can still play, and the youth is getting better. Can you imagine being Vanderbilt? I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Minnesota Vikings, NFL teams can't block Carter and Davis, never mind the rest, and Nolan Smith. Can you imagine Vanderbilt trying to block these guys?
I mean, the thing about it is, you see the way that they're so impressive up front on both sides of the ball. I mean, the offensive line, how could you not be excited by offensive line with some of the holes you're looking through? You're going, anybody could run through that. Look at that hole, And if you don't close that hole, doesn't matter. You don't have to have the greatest running backs back there. You had guy running through a hole like that.
Well, we have DeAndre Swift, obviously from St. Joe Prep. I like Domo guys who admit when they're wrong. And the first game, Nick Sirianni, Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson just getting out of the gate. Sirianni, obviously a third-year head coach, ran DeAndre Swift once or 3 snaps he was in. He's only got 300 yards the last 2 games, averaging 7 yards a carry. I mean, the local kid makes good. How much of it is DeAndre Swift, and how much of it, as Gary said, are the Mack truck-sized holes he's running through? Because Jason Kelsey made a point that, you can run through a hole, but he's also beating that first guy, breaking that first tackle, which is huge.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday, I think Troy Aikman made a joke early in the game about the size of those holes, so that Joe Buck could run through them, and a lot of them were that size. Yeah. But there also were plays where DeAndre Swift just made some hellacious moves.
Yes.
And, my only concern with him is be careful how much you use him right now, because he's never been a heavy-duty back. And you don't want to get to
only 18 touches yesterday. Wasn't that much?
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, you don't want a lot of 28 carry games but I mean, and they haven't even gotten to the point where, I mean, both him and Kenny Gainwell are 2 really good pass receivers.
True.
And they haven't even tapped that yet.
Yeah. Well, they tapped in the first quarter when
those are
Jalen threw a pick when it was thrown to DeAndre. Yeah.
Right. But you're going to see some stuff later on in the season where those guys are going to be, are going to win games with their receiving skills.
And Olamide Zaccheaus, who people say Eagles have 6 guys from Georgia, 5 on the defensive side, and obviously DeAndre. They also got 2 when you move a level down, St. Joe Prep. Zaccheaus, who replaced Quez Watkins last night, he caught a touchdown on a great pass from Jalen Hurts. And what that all says, obviously, Sewell Apeta came in last night when Dickerson got hurt. And you've had offensive line with guys moving over when Sam Mahler retires and signs his free agent with the Steelers. The depth of this team is outstanding. I mean, somebody leaves, somebody else comes in, somebody gets hurt. They really don't lose a lot on the second level, do they? Pretty much anywhere.
Well, that's true. I wouldn't say everywhere, but quite a few places they have depth, and they really have, where you hear, Jalen saying all the time about, having a standard. They have a certain standard, and I will give them a lot of credit because, with certain things that they come out and they do, like winning that battle up front and, playing, smart football, and, that's the way you win. And they play as a team, and it seems like you got everybody on board. It's not the easiest thing to do because, the guys have big, egos. So not the easiest thing to do to have everybody going in the same direction when you're talking about an NFL football team. So I commend, the coaches and the leaders on the team for the good job they do.
And Damo, taking it to the other side of the ball for a second, we hear about Brian Johnson, who I thought was better last night. let the team get into a flow. Was he perfect? Far from it. Is Jalen perfect at recognition? I think he's still getting into the system without playing in the preseason, which they should do. He's a little hesitant back there. He's going to become a lot better. He didn't forget how to read defenses. But Sean Desai, I mean, without blitzing a whole lot, I think a lot of improvement can be made on defense. With this wall you have from Georgia and Reed Blankenship being back, who's as responsive as any safety I ever see it reading the quarterback's eyes, and Bradbury played well. They took Mike Evans out of the game for the most part in the first half. He had a great catch in the second half, but he sure didn't kill him. Sean Desai's doing a hell of a job.
Yeah, it was funny watching Jordan Davis yesterday. I mean, there was one play. I mean, he's just immovable. And there was one time, a guy runs into the line and kind of goes past him, and Jordan reaches over and basically stops him. I mean, just amazing.
Why did Vita Vea have so much trouble? Vita Vea had 0 tackles last night, and the Eagles rushed for 200 yards. Jordan Davis could be Vita Vea. You could neutralize him, but they weren't able. They doubled Jordan Davis a lot, weren't able to neutralize him. What does he do? I'm not saying he's better than Vita Vea at this point, but what does he do that allows him to free himself? Is it his teammates? What is it?
Well, I mean, Jordan Davis is a freak as far as his athleticism. I mean, he's I forget what his 10-yard split was when he came out. It was, but it was ungodly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to, G mentioned this guy's going to be a really good pass rusher eventually. I mean, he hadn't even tapped that part of his game, except for a few instances. But a big thing with Vita Vea is Jason Kelsey's right across the line from a future Hall of Famer. Who, even though he's given away a lot of size, I mean, he has he knows leverage, he knows.
But to be fair to Vita Vea, he took Jason Kelsey apart 2 years ago in the playoff game. I think to Kelsey's, he learned and knows what to do with him. And
no, Jason has had trouble with bigger guys. The Giants always had a big nose tackle that gave him some problems. But he adjusts.
See, what's it like when you got a guy on an offensive line? You played against a lot of good offensive lines. You played on teams with good offensive lines and played against those guys in practice. When you got a monster coming at you every time, and you got to reach into your bag of tricks, how much more difficult does that make it on the front seven? Obviously, it makes it more difficult, but what's it like?
Well, it's tough because if you got somebody that's big, first of all, you got to stop, their just all of the power that's coming at you. And then you got to get off the block and try to make a tackle, see? And if you're giving up, with so much size, it's almost an impossibility for you to, stop this guy and then still come off and be able to make the tackle. And that's why, I can just see where, it's amazing the way, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, I see Jordan Davis taking on a double team, and he's basically got the double team just stopped, man. They're not moving at all. Going like, man, this guy, he's, it's amazing. And the fact that those young tackles are playing so well, and they're just getting started. They haven't even had much experience playing.
And their defensive coordinator hasn't opened any bags of tricks with them either. They're not blitzing very much.
That's right.
Isolating these guys.
I mean, they really have amazing potential, what they could be.
What makes it even more difficult, Domo, the Eagles left points on the board a few times. The red zone offense wasn't great. Play calls weren't great. They went for it on fourth down, gave up points on their first drive. Offense, defense, and now you add special teams. Britton Covey, a 56-yard punt return. Jake Elliott never misses, not literally, but very little with Covey and everything like that. And the special teams getting better this year despite McPherson and Barber going down in preseason.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a complete football team, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that if they can stay healthy, and that's a big if, because you never know. There have been years when their offensive line has just been decimated by injuries, and there have been years like last year. I think they only had 2 or 3 missed games by the starters. But, yeah, I agree. And guys are going to be getting better. I mean, you mentioned Reed Blankenship.
Yep.
Sidney Brown made a play yesterday.
Tremendous play.
I mean, I think by the end of this, late in this season, those two guys are going to be obviously Blankenship's a starter, but Sidney Brown's going to work his way into that starting line.
Well, look at the youth, Brown and Blankenship and Davis and Carter on the safety, caved the offensive line. I mean,
and cheap too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't have to pay a lot for them.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you, there's one area, though, that I got to single out that,
Slot.
you know, I had criticized, which is the linebackers.
Okay.
They played well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they really did a
Morrow
good
had a
job
hell of a
yesterday.
game.
Both of them made some good tackles.
Yeah.
That safety, you know, for Moreau to go up there and attack it the way he did, you know, they did play well, you know, and I would tell you that the pass defense has improved too.
Yeah.
You know, they've
And
done a better job there.
And even on offense, defense, special teams, we've got to take a quick break here, but I want to mention very few penalties either. You can make up for weakness in a lot of ways by grabbing people and doing this and doing that. Not a lot of penalties for the Eagles, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just another area. How are you going to beat this team? You can't expect them to beat themselves. You can't expect to cave their lines. Jalen Hurts really isn't playing well right now. Had a pretty good game last night. Not great. Figures to get better against the Commanders Sunday. We're going to take a quick break. Come back with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. You got a nice crowd here. Beautiful place, a Great American Pub. Come here, get a bite to eat. It's wonderful food, wonderful guests. Next 3 weeks we'll have Hollis Thomas, Sean Landetta, Coach Dick Vermeil. Gus Barber produces this show. And we'll be back with the Great American Pub with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff right after this. Stay with us.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, live from here at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Don't forget, you can watch the show live at WBCBSports.com and YouTube's live by searching WBCB Sports with Paul Domowitch and our guest, Garry Cobb. Damo, and by the way, we also want to send our best wishes, as many in Philadelphia have, to Charlie Manuel, who's getting better. The Philadelphia sports community bands together, as we always do. He wished the Eagles good luck last night. Everybody wishing Charlie good luck as the Phillies try to clinch a playoff spot tonight with Aaron Nola. We think they'll do that down at the ballpark against the Pirates. Damo, we were talking during the break. Obviously, the Eagles can get a lot better. They're 3-0. There's 3-0 teams. Eagles play both of them. Even when you go to the Louvre in Paris, the great museum, not every painting's the Mona Lisa. And not everybody with the Eagles, not every play, not every concept, not every coach is the Picasso or the Mona Lisa. You noticed a small problem last night the Eagles can work on. What is it? I mean, there's many of them.
Well, it wasn't a problem last night, but I think it could develop into one, and I think they know that, is a slot corner. I mean, Avonte Maddox was a hell of a guy inside. I mean, he was a natural. They moved James Bradbury in there a lot last night, but it was mainly because he was going up against Mike Evans, who's a bigger guy. You know, most of the slot receivers you're going to face are smaller, and Bradbury doesn't. I mean, you're taking away what he does best if you move him inside. He belongs on the outside. So, I mean, my belief is that they're looking around for a slot guy. Because I really don't see anybody on that roster that I love. Yeah. So I mean, the trade deadline is October 31st. If I had to guess, they usually are going to go after one position. It would be that they'll go look for a nickel.
We've heard, G, about a lot of people that Howie could have his eyes on, obviously, without knowing who's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Before then, for Buda Baker from Arizona, slot corner. What's the Eagles, if they had one need right now, where would you go if you had to move? Howie Roseman's kept some cap money open for a rainy day. There's going to be a rainy day. Where's it raining on, in your opinion?
You know, I couldn't help it. I mean, if I think about it, I probably would say slot corner as well,
Yep.
because, you know, you look at a lot of areas on this team, and, you know, they're pretty strong at most of them. But you start talking about that slot corner. I mean, the reason is it's so important. And I don't think people realize that the qualities of that guy are kind of unique, which is you got a guy who's a cover guy who doesn't mind tackling people.
Who's going to be forced to tackle people inside?
I mean,
sure.
but you know, the thing about it is, you know, you need to have a guy there that doesn't mind, that kind of looks forward to it, and you know, that's unique. Not everybody. You know, a lot of these guys, great cover guy, but he's not crazy about tackling people. But you're in there, and you know they can run the ball at you because you're in it pretty close. So, you know, being able to do that, being able to operate with all these people around you, see, and being comfortable in that. And Vontae Maddox, you know, he had those qualities.
Well, a lot of people, you talk about corners on the outside are cover guys. They're covering great receivers. They're great athletes. They don't get run it a lot. The wide receiver screen, that's a problem sometimes for them. Mm-hmm. Inside, you got to cover the inside of the field. The outside of the field, you got to cover the receiver. You got to play the run.
Yep.
There was a well-known cornerback back in the day who's well-known again now for doing something different. Everybody's heard of him, Neon Dion, who was pretty good at both. He used to say, I don't tackle in the regular season. I save it for the playoffs. He was actually a pretty good tackler. He just chose not to try in there. But I want to go in a different area with you and Dion. Deion Sanders played 9 years in the major leagues. He played in the World Series. Mm-hmm. We obviously know about Bo Jackson. Most people who play in the NFL played another sport in high school. Most of these people were great athletes, the best athlete on their team or whatever. And it's been my observation, Domo, that most guys play the sport that they like the least, that they're the best at the sport they like the least. Our guest, Mr. Cobb, was a center fielder on a great USC baseball team. If you had your druthers, G, what were you better at? What'd you like more, football or baseball?
Well, you know,
talking Dion for a second.
That's quite a question, because really I didn't play as much baseball probably as I wanted to, because when I went to USC, you know, I was recruited by McKay. And I went there with the understanding I was going to play as much baseball as I was going to play football. But see, John McKay was the athletic director as well as the head football coach. So he said, yeah, we want you to play baseball. But after my freshman year, McKay signed a contract with the Bucks and left. And when John Robinson came in, he told me, look, you better be out there for spring football. I'm saying, but coach, I'm supposed to play baseball, you know.
What sport did you make more NIL money on?
No, I tell you, I really kind of regret, though, that I didn't play as much, you know, where I kind of let, you know, however I'm playing, let that be the decision rather than, you know, kind of getting pressured into not playing as much baseball, because
all right, let me just sell Scott for a second.
I was a home run hitter. I mean, you get a hold of a few balls.
Could you have been in the show if you wanted?
Well,
if you
know,
devoted?
I could easily say yeah, but I can't say I definitely know. But I felt confident. I mean, I was definitely as good of a baseball player as I was a football player. So
was Rod Didio the coach back then?
Yeah, Rod Dado was there. That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, guys, there's so many great things to talk about tonight. We kind of have an unsung hero every week, an unsung hero topic, and there's a guy that never, ever, 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 ever gets talked about that is an unbelievable contributor to the Eagles. He's a coach. He's not a coach at a glamour position. He's not just the offensive line coach. He's a running game coordinator. He's the best in the NFL. He might be the best I've ever seen at making these offensive linemen. Jordan Mailata molding him into one, and Sua Opeta came in last night, and everybody else. Damo, Jeff Stoutland doesn't get the credit he deserves, obviously. Talk about him for a second, if you can.
Well, I don't know if that's true.
Not from us.
First of all, he's probably the highest paid assistant coach in the game.
By his salary, yes. But
and I don't think there's anybody that, I mean, you talk to anybody, they'll tell you he's you know, they'll praise him. I mean, he's just incredible. I mean, you know, they're like, I think I told you once, they're going to put put Malata's name on his tombstone. I mean, for what he's done with that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just the best offensive line coach. And I mean, I've been around a lot, and so has G. I mean, Howard Mudd and people like that, and he's right there. I mean, he is a guy that probably deserves some Hall of Fame mention.
Gee, well, there's no assistant coach in the Hall of Fame, which is a joke, but a great offensive line coach. You obviously work as a linebacker, but you worked with the offensive line coach in trying to shed blocking schemes. What is a great offensive line coach? I mean, you can teach a big guy how to block, but it's not quite that simple. What's the couple of traits an offensive line coach has to have?
Well, he's got to be a good technician. He's got to be able to teach and communicate with guys so that they understand.
And have them play as a unit, right? Not just each individual.
That's right. And he does a great job. And they just do, it just seems like he just can work with everybody. That every guy goes in there, he's much better at where if a team were smart, they would say, look, we'll just pick their guys, any of them that come out, that come available, we can go after, the backups. We'll take them because you see them. I'm sitting there watching these guys. They all improve under his leadership. They all get better. The guys get confident. They understand what they're doing. I can't say that about all the positions. Guy knows what he's doing. He can explain to you what he's trying to accomplish because he does such a great job of communicating with the guys. And he does what other people do, which is it's repetitious. It's over and over. You're going to get it right. But he does it enthusiastically. He's just got a great temperament. You see him, I just see him teaching, which is some saying, I'd love to play for a guy like that because he wants to make you better. Now, he's going to be honest with you, though, and he's going to push you.
Oh, yeah.
And you appreciate that about a coach. He's got all those qualities of a great coach. And what you said, but I didn't realize it. No, individual, whatever. I'm thinking about position coaches. None of them in the Hall of Fame.
There's no coordinators because there's no assistants at all.
There's a couple.
Think about how important they are.
There's a couple that got in. They were players. Dick
LeBeau.
Dick LeBeau.
Yep.
But no. Now they have
Chip Johnson
a separate award for guys that for assistant coaches. But
they really should because in the sport of football, I can't say this might be true in all sports, but clearly in football, they play such an important role.
And we can thank Chip Kelly.
Thanks, Chip Kelly. And
Chip Kelly's the one that hired him.
He sure did. He was hired away from Alabama and Nick Saban at the time. I remember talking to him when he came here about it. Wasn't sure he was going to like pro football. I think it's worked out. Don, well, that brings up the interesting question about the DNA of the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, A.J. had a good night last night. Devontae last week. Still really haven't got Dallas Goedert loose. He's catching balls but not getting yards after the catch. If somebody said to you, the Eagles' DNA, is it a more passing DNA? Is it more running DNA? Nick wants to throw, but he'll run the ball. They have the tools to do either, depending on what other team is taking away. Is the Eagles' DNA, if you had to pick one, more of a passing team or a running team?
Well, last year when they went to the Super Bowl, what made them unique and so unstoppable was they were diverse. They could do either one. You could shut down one or they would struggle at one maybe, and they'd beat you with the other part of the game. I don't think they need to. Right now, the passing game isn't. It looked better yesterday.
How much better? What did you think?
They had some deep balls that they connected on, which was big. Dallas Goedert became more of a factor.
What is Jalen not doing now after 3 games? Obviously, no preseason action, new offensive coordinator. He's thinking a little bit, not reacting. The one play where he held on the ball too long and Lane Johnson kept this man at bay forever. Holding the ball too long isn't always a bad thing if a guy comes up on Zakia's touchdown. How far along is Jalen Hurts to becoming what he can be this year? Yeah,
I think the fact that he didn't play in the preseason he's still shaking off rust. Yesterday he was playing with, you heard him if anybody watched his post-game press conference. He clearly was sick and fought it off and played. He had about 5 or 6 passes that he'd like to have back, and not only 2 interceptions, but there were a couple of other miscommunications with the receivers that that'll get straightened out. I'm confident he's going to be the same quarterback he was last year.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look a little bit more at the Eagles take a look at what happened around the NFL. I don't know if anything comes to mind for you, but something comes to mind for me, and that's, how about them Cowboys?
Oh.
Yeah, they played well this weekend. We'll talk about the Dallas Cowboys trip to Arizona, which wasn't exactly what the doctor ordered. It's what the doctors in Philadelphia ordered. Much, much more. We are at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff, Tuesday edition. It'll also be the Tuesday edition, November 21st after the Chiefs game. Back here next Monday night, and we'll be back right.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz. We now return to the
Texas,
Great American
guys,
Pub.
It has to be mentioned. Last night in Tampa Bay, we saw it on the news coverage the couple days leading up. My station, WIP, pumped it up. The fans of this city, the fans of every sport but football, we take over opposing stadiums, travel as well as anybody in the country, probably better. Nick Sirianni, high-fived one of the fans after the game last night. Damo, an unbelievable group of fans here. It sounded almost like a home crowd for the Eagles. It wasn't quite, but we know how loud we can be. How much of an asset, and it's obvious, are the fans of this team and every Philadelphia team when they travel like this?
It's huge. I mean, them and the Steelers probably travel as well. They're the two best traveling teams in the league. But I mean, last night in the fourth quarter when they started chanting, and you could hear them like it was at the Link.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just amazing.
What's that like to you when the fans are on your side like they are here, even on the road?
It definitely is a motivation and just gives you that shot of energy, and it's something that is important, and especially when you start talking about noise and being able to get some noise. If you're on defense, of course, you want noise because it tends to affect the offense more because they got to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
And that's something that I will give the Eagles defense credit. It seemed like they were doing a better job of communicating too, which is something you've got to do in pass defense. Because it's a lot like you're playing defense in basketball. You got to let guys know, hey, this guy's coming to you. Different things that happen. You want to be on the same page.
And something that might be lost on people that want to ask you about you. I mean, Nakobe Dean got hurt week 1. He wore the green dot, which means the defensive signal caller. Nicholas Morrow walked in from the freaking practice squad like nothing had changed. And you said the communication. Mm-hmm. New defensive coordinator, a lot of young kids. They're doing a great job at linebacker, too, a position that everybody else left for dead, huh?
I really give them a lot of credit. I mean, Zach Cunningham did a good job there. Moreau made some good plays. They did a good job tackling. That's what really kind of stopped that the running game of the Bucs. It made them throw the ball. They weren't able to get anything going. And so offensively, the Bucs really, they had that one drive. But other than that, they didn't do much at all. But I will give the Eagles linebackers credit. They did a good job of tackling and playing aggressive and doing a good job in pass defense as well.
One person, I mentioned him earlier, Damo, but he needs to get mentioned more. I mean, you can't count on 3 or 4 field goals every night, but sometimes you take someone for granted, don't even mention them. and then people forget he's there, but then you look up and his numbers are unbelievable. Jake Elliott has become, he's not Justin Tucker, but he may be number 2 in the NFL now. You just forget about him, but what a freaking weapon he is, isn't he?
Yeah, and I mean, I can't remember the last kick return. I mean, everything's a touchback.
Yep.
Just amazing. I mean, and they're not using him much anymore except on longer ones because they're usually going for it, on 4th and 2 if they're inside the red zone or even inside the 30.
And the punter didn't kill him last night. Aaron Sibbis gone. Braden Mann.
Yeah.
Is it Braden Mann?
Braden Mann, yeah.
1 punt, 38 yards. You don't even notice he's there or not there.
I saw that punt, though. Looks like he's got a long stride. I mean, he almost got that first one blocked. I tweeted that, this is a blocked punt waiting to happen. So it was kind of good that he only had the one, I think.
Well, 1 punt is usually a good thing about football teams. But take a look around the NFL, Week 3. You got a lead with a little problem. A team that EG used to play for had in Arizona. Jonathan Gannon got his first win. A lot of Eagle fans bit their tongue that don't like Jonathan Gannon. I'm not quite sure I get that to begin with, but the Cardinals led the whole game, beat the Cowboys. Dak Prescott looked very pedestrian. The play calling, Mike McCarthy looked very pedestrian. Terrible pick at the end. Kaiser White, by the way, ex-Eagle linebacker. The Cardinals just handed it to the Cowboys. Was that just a bad week, Damo, for the Cowboys? I mean, everybody after 2 weeks is putting them in the Super Bowl. Like, whoa, pump the brakes a little. What do you see from this one?
Well, it's the same thing with the Dolphins. I mean, suddenly everybody thinks they're ready. Let's wait a little bit, okay? But with the Cowboys, I mean, what stunned me was what they give up 200 yards rushing.
Yep.
And what they did was what the Eagles do. The best way to deal with Micah Parsons is go right at him, attack him, because he's so damn quick. But if you're running right at him like the Eagles did last year, and that's what the Cardinals did yesterday. So it's an
interesting concept, G. When people say that, you got to run right at whoever. Lawrence Taylor, Micah Parsons, name your great linebacker, defensive end. They said run right at Reggie. On one hand,
nobody
someone
said that.
Yeah, I don't know if they said running at Reggie. I don't know that.
Well,
not that loud, at least.
Certainly the quick linebacker, but it inherently makes no sense to talk about it. But when you think about it, it inherently makes perfect sense. Could you explain that one? Obviously, in high school, in college, you were Micah Parsons. I mean, you were a great player in the NFL, but a better one in college and high school. What's it like when you're far and away the best player on the field and people run right at you?
Well, you look at Micah Parsons. I mean, he is so quick. You see he's quicker than all of the offensive linemen. The guy's trying to block him. So much quicker than they are that, he just, boom, all of a sudden, boom, he's by the guy. He comes in his movements. I mean, he gives a fake one way, and he's going the other way. And, that type of quickness. For that matter, I see some of that also in, Jalen Carter. You see where he's on a guy so much. And when you've got a guy that got that kind of quickness, and he's got power.
Yeah.
If you let him get a little of he gets up under a little bit, you're done. And that's what he does. He really is so much quicker than the offensive linemen that are trying to block him. And he's got power too, and he's able to get up under them. So that's why a guy like a guy that quick. It's very difficult to deal with.
And to be fair, Damo, obviously the Cowboys lost Trayvon Diggs to a torn ACL last week, but we talk about the Eagles' depth, next man up. Obviously they didn't lose the game because of Trayvon Diggs. It's a bad loss for Dallas. I don't root for injuries in any way, but I thought McCarthy's play calling was, again, very pedestrian. Are you a Dak Prescott guy or not? I mean, he's good enough. He's like Daniel Jones. He's good enough to keep him. He's not good enough to give him one of these ridiculous mega contracts, and I think Jerry Jones knows that. How do you evaluate Dak Prescott?
Well, hard to say this when you figure how long he's been in the league, but the jury's kind of still out on him right now. The 15 interceptions last season, I didn't think that was him, and then he throws that dumb pick yesterday.
And if Kaiser White didn't pick that, somebody else could have.
Yeah, I mean, that's why. I mean, they believe this is their guy going forward, but that's why they brought Trey Lance.
That's why they traded for Trey Lance.
I mean, they'll find out in a year or two whether this guy can play, and if he can, they'll say, "Yeah, Dak, we're not going to give you $55 million a year. We're going to."
Gee, you said the most you ever made in the NFL was $350,000. When you see these linebackers, and getting 5-year, $80 million contracts. Do you want to get a knife and kill someone? Or?
No. I mean, it's all about, during the time. This is what they're paying now. This is what the going price is. The league's making a lot of money, and they're getting a chance to partake of that. And really, we went on some strikes so these guys could make this kind of money. So that if the league's money went up, then the players' money went up, and that's basically what it is. You don't see any owners complaining.
No, owners aren't
because they are making money, and fairly the players are getting their share of it.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you guys 2 questions about money that are diametrically different. Couldn't be more different, but interested to hear your point of view on both of them. Obviously, colleges and NILs. We all saw the great college games last weekend. People say there's no great college teams this year because teams aren't together for more than a year, or the quarterbacks leave. G went to USC. Your quarterback, Caleb Williams, won the Heisman Trophy last year.
Yep.
His father, and normally I'd say, well, this is just hot air, but Caleb Williams was on a national Wendy's commercial, making $8 million a year to play quarterback at USC, which...
Is that all?
That's it, maybe more. And his father said if he's drafted by a team he doesn't like, he could stay another year. And he's making plenty of money. Well, obviously, I hate to give the knife comment again. It might be a gun in this case with the NILs, and you're not being around for them. Gee, missed by a few years. But what's the NIL like in college football, and how is it changing the landscape of everything?
Well, clearly, the teams that play it right, they're in a big city. They've got, let's say, you're in a city like Los Angeles. You got an advantage because.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. A kid that comes there, if he's a big-time player, he's going to be able to make some big money. And so if his money is important to him, which with most of the guys, it does play a role, you got a good chance of getting guys. And that's why they wouldn't be able to go out and bring in all these players. They've got to get them all playing well together. You see defensively, they're still working on that. Yeah. But they've got all these kids who are they've got talent, but to get them to play together and everything is because, of that NIL, so many of them are they're making money, and so.
Domo, you got the money, you got the transfer portal. How much is this playing with college football?
I mean, I think a bigger problem, the NCAA has nobody to blame but themselves for the nil deals. I mean, they, for years just wouldn't give these guys anything, and then they came back to haunt them. But the transfer portal has just turned the game into a chaos.
Yeah.
And what's gonna happen? You're going to see from the NFL angle is you're going to see a lot more college coaches saying, "I don't need this."
Yeah.
If they have an option to come to the NFL, somebody will hire them. Yeah. Like Deion Sanders, I give him 2-3 years before you get.
Who's an NFL coach first, guys? Who coaches an NFL game first? A, Deion Sanders, B, Kirby Smart. I think Kirby Smart is going to be a great pro coach. Yeah. He's not. There's going to be a lot of college coaches. I agree with you, Damo. But they're going to come to an NFL, guys, that.
Yeah.
One thing just stands out to me. I tweeted about it again last night. The NFL has $38 trillion. The world has technology out the wazoo in every direction.
Yeah.
They're measuring the Eagles on a 4th down play in the 4th quarter, and they're screwing around with the chain.
That is just getting ridiculous. They take so much time on those.
It's not just a time cheat, but there's an inch either way.
Yeah.
People forget, well, why is there an inch either way? There's an inch either way because when the guys went to the sidelines, when they got the last first down, which nobody's even paying attention to, some guys say, hey, how about here? Is this about right? Is it time for technology to move in with the first downs? What? It's ridiculous.
I guess I guess in due time it will happen, because.
Why not now?
You're right, but change. That's all it is. Is people are, something. This is the way we did it, and so there's kind of like a bond to the fact that this is the way we did it. But I could see where the technology would make a lot of that a lot easier. And it would be a done deal.
Dom, when a team misses a first down by an inch, and you're thinking, did they miss by an inch when they spot it in the first place?
Yeah.
Can you think of any other part of football that's as lunatic as that one? I can't.
Well, I think they don't want to go completely, high tech because. They leave it to TV to do all that. That way they can keep their hands clean. They're not out there, measuring with lasers. They can kind of act like this is.
Joe Buck. That angle doesn't show it perfectly. We need this. We need to marry these two angles. Come on, man.
Yeah, it does, especially when it just gets elongated. That's what, I don't like is that, come on, man, it's been 5 minutes with this one play. And, I'm trying to remember which game it was where, it might have been the Eagles game, where it didn't matter. I mean, that doesn't matter. You're slowing up the game 5-10 minutes.
The A.J. Brown play, whether he's out of bounds or not.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, the A.J. Brown play.
Yeah.
And they also spent like about 5-6 minutes on one of the tush pushes last night.
Yeah.
That's right, you're right.
Like, you can't see where, I mean, he's buried underneath everybody.
All right, guys, this weekend also produced some very interesting games. Miami had a nice season on Sunday, 70 points again. Sean Payton, who said that Nathaniel Hackett did maybe the worst coaching job ever, should have had a mirror there when he made that comment. Wow. 70-20, and the Dolphins, Mike McDaniels called off the dogs to Sean Payton's delight, I'm sure, with 9 minutes left. He could have scored 90.
He deserved it because, him taking the shot of a guy, you're not even involved in that coaching staff. Why are you going to go there on the guys?
You don't do that.
What are you trying to prove?
And he said he was going to apologize, and they asked Hackett, said he hadn't apologized. The team's playing in 2 weeks.
Sean Payton is a bad guy.
For you to say, and you're like the nicest guy ever, Dumbo, for you to say someone's a bad guy has a little extra weight to it.
He actually had the audacity to blame NFL Films for Bountygate, when he got suspended.
Greg Williams,
because their camera picked up him, or Williams basically ordering them to, hey, you did it.
That's right, you did it. It just got busted. But, for them to get, hammered like that, for him to go, though, after that coach like that, why are you going to go after a coach? What's your point?
Yeah.
Miami had 2 guys with 4 touchdowns, a third-round draft choice from Texas A&M, Ache, that nobody's even heard of before, just like the Rams wide receiver who caught 25 balls the first 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the Sunday opponent, we're going to take our final break now, but Sunday the Eagles play the Commanders, who had a little problem with the Bills at home, losing 37-3. Eagles sit now in first place in the NFC East themselves. A guy named Josh Harris owns the Commanders. We'll talk about the Eagles and the Commanders Sunday. Take a look at a couple other things around the NFL. C.J. Stroud standing out among this year's quarterbacks. Josh McDaniels and Brandon Slater both still have jobs. They should both be thankful for that after the moronic calls they both made Sunday. We'll put it all together, the Monday Night Kickoff from the Great American Pub in Concha.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
Great American Pub. I do speak English in Conshohocken. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday night. I know it's a long ride, but everybody was happy to see it. Let's do it again sometime.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Good to have you, Chief.
Tomo, sounds good to always have you. We'll be back next week with Hollis Thomas and hopefully another Eagle win.
Been a pleasure.
You better have a lot of food.
We'll have a lot of food here at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. They got it here, and Hollis will probably eat a lot of it. Gus Barber, excuse me, has produced this fine program tonight. Thank you very much, Gus. Thank you to Merrill Reese, Matt Muir, everybody at WBCB, to Chuck and Jerry here at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. We'll be next Monday night for Paul Domowitch and Garry Cobb. I'm Paul Jolovitz saying good night, everybody. Go Eagles!